All right, guys. So our next main topic here, it's actually topics because this is going to be a big DC news segment. There's, I think, 8 separate news things, news stories that came out, announcements, just all sorts of DC stuff, and a lot of it pertains to DC animated stuff. So I was going to originally combine these animated segments together into one anyways, but in the effort of saving some time, I'm gonna combine the couple of live action things that came out with it as well, because we've already gone for about an hour and a half, and we've really only done, you know, 2 main segments for the most part. So, the first thing we're gonna kick off here is, none other than something I'm very excited about seeing, is they are actually making an animated Injustice movie. So, my only hope here, and I'm sure John and I will talk about this later on as we start analyzing some of this stuff a little bit further, is that I just hope they stick to the story. Like, the story is so good on its own. I don't wanna see them making any adaptations. I don't wanna see them trying to weave it into their existing continuity. I just want them to make Injustice and do it justice, alright? That's what I want, 'cause
Do it
Injustice,
justice.
yeah, do it justice to Injustice. Because Injustice Gods Among Us is, like, just on paper, like, in comic book form, like, outside of the games, like, it was a great story. Like,
Well,
it
I
was really well done.
I rewatched the cutscenes again, like as like a miniature movie from like the original Injustice and all that. Like, dude, that's some good stuff.
It's a
Like,
great
I don't
yeah.
even care that much for like DC, and like that's good stuff.
It's a great story in general, and that's the thing, like, they made a comic line for it, and, like, the comic itself was successful, like, outside of the game, the comic itself was successful, so, like, the story is there. They don't need to tweak it. Like, I'm fine honestly, in the end, as long as they hit all the key plot points and don't change anything, I guess I wouldn't necessarily care if they weaved it in with their existing continuity to have it be an Elseworlds thing. But, like, so if they use the same character models, for instance, as their Superman from, like, Justice League War, that's their current, like, ever since Justice League War, that's been their continuity for their animated movies, and that's when, like I said, John and I will probably elaborate further on this because this we both agree and we've talked about it before. But with Hush, I think we talked about it on stream. But with their Hush adaptation, they wove it into the continuity of that Justice League War story, and it didn't really work as well as it would have if they just told the Hush story, like, on its own. Like it seems like they're doing with, The Long Halloween Part 1 and 2, like they had done with The Dark Knight Returns, and Under the Red Hood, like, those were all standalone stories that they just told. And then, like, the first thing that they did with, weaving in new lore and shit was with, The Killing Joke, and everybody hated that, like, nobody liked that, no one asked for it, like, once they actually went into The Killing Joke stuff, it was good, like, the first 30 minutes was pretty much just, like, was delete it and move on, like, 'cause it was just so useless and didn't add to anything, so that's my main thing is I just hope they don't like, just don't fuck it up. It's already there. Just make it good, like, honestly. Then we also have the return of Batman the Animated Series, and this is interesting in a lot of ways because, 1, Bruce Timm's coming back for it. Bruce Timm was behind, like, the original Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, like, all the classic and great DC animated stuff. Like, 'cause Bruce Timm is not a part of, like, a lot of the he's not really a part of the current DC, like, animated continuity or anything, but he did all the greats, man. Batman Beyond, he created Harley Quinn, dude. Like, you can thank Bruce Timm for Harley Quinn. Like, Harley Quinn was not a character until he made her for animated series, and then she blew up, and now she's her own character in the comics, and everybody loves Harley Quinn, so that's great to see, and then also J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves are producing it. So it's just interesting. Like I we'll get into it more. We'll get into more because on the other side of that coin, which I find to be a little bit more odd, is they're making a Superman animated series starring Jack Quaid, which is cool. He plays he's in The Boys. He plays Huey in The Boys. But he's playing Clark in this what's said to be like a kind of like an anthology Superman animated series. So I thought it was kind of odd, like, when doing my quick thoughts on it, and we'll dive more into it, like I said, but it's kinda strange because the Batman animated series article kinda seems to indicate that I mean, they brought Bruce Timm back to do it, so it's essentially gonna be in some vein a continuation of the Bruce Timm verse. And I guess details aren't 100% clear on this, like, the involvement of Matt Reeves and JJ, if it's gonna be, like, also a type of anthology, or is it going to be like a continuation? Because there's a line in that article on the Batman one where it says, like, they're excited to return and bring the character back, but I don't know if they're just referencing bringing Batman back to animated form in general, or if it's like the Batman animated series Batman is coming back. It's kind of an open-ended statement, so it's them doing the Superman animated series without Bruce Timm, and it's more of an anthology thing, makes me lean more towards maybe this Batman animated series thing that they're doing is also gonna be kind of its own new thing and its own continuity, but we'll just have to wait and see. But nevertheless, I'm happy to see just, the 2 greats coming back to animated form because I liked Superman the animated series was not as good as Batman the animated series, but it was fun stuff. Like, there was some good stuff in it. Then couple of Dwayne Johnson headlines here. He's doing Krypto, the voice of Krypto, the Superdog in the DC League of Super Pets movie. Yeah, that's still happening. I think we talked about this like a year or so ago when it first got announced. Actually, I don't even know if we did talk about it. We probably did, but it's been a long time since we've heard any sort of movement on this film happening. So yeah, if you didn't know, they were DC had planned on doing a League of Super Pets movie. I don't know if they did anything about this at Fandom or not. I really can't remember.
No,
Yeah, it's
they
been
did not.
yeah, and it's been, like, radio silence since they announced they were gonna do it. So, like, I had honestly completely forgotten about the movie until this news came out. So, I don't know. It doesn't really make me any more excited for the Super Pets thing. I find it kind of odd that they're gonna be even moving forward with it at all because they did the Teen Titans Go movie, which from what I heard was really good. And it was already a popular franchise, and it didn't do good financially. So it's like you had a movie that was really good, and it didn't do good financially, and this is kind of in the same vein of that, just like kid-friendly DC animated thing. And then going even further back than that, they did the Lego Batman movie, which was phenomenal. Nobody went to see it though, which was crazy because, like, they assumed, and I think everybody assumed, at least in our line of work here, work, quote unquote, um, is based on the success of the Lego movie that the Batman Lego movie would have done gangbusters, but it didn't do anything. It wasn't very successful financially at all. Everyone loved it who saw it, but financially, the Lego movie made, like, I think $1 billion. The Lego Batman movie, I think, only made, like, somewhere between 3 and 500 million. It wasn't a lot in comparative senses. Like, they were disappointed by that, so I find it interesting that they're going back to the well of the kid-friendly, the even more kid-friendly than I guess, assumingly kid-friendly. I imagine something involving super pets would be
I don't
kid-friendly.
know, man. That could get pretty dark.
Yeah, I mean, if they have it like if they do Injustice with the super pets, I mean, it could get kinda dark, so who knows?
Krypto the Superdog bites somebody and has to be put down,
Yeah,
but he can't be
exactly.
put down because he's a Superdog. And
Right. Who knows? We'll see where it goes. But then more with The Rock here. He released, some little teases here from, him and Black Adam. So it's like a picture of him in, like, a very distressed robe, which I like. I'm a big fan of
you
that.
can see his boots there.
Some Sith stay, you can see his boots, has, like, some, like, armor plate kinda stuff looking he looks like cosplay that I'd be doing for my freaking Jedi or Sith stuff,
Right.
which is pretty
He looks
cool.
like a Star Wars
And it
character.
looks like, you can actually see his, like, boot even more, like, up here, and it does look like some, like, armor plating, so, like, I'm excited for this actual full reveal. I'm sure we're gonna get a more, like, an actual reveal come, Fandom, like, obviously. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get some semblance of trailer. I think we mentioned this before, but, like, if Matt Reeves is able to put together that banging Batman trailer with 25% of the footage for the whole movie, I'm expecting something good from Black Adam. They better be able to put something together. They got some months to get this done. And then there's also a picture of the set here, and which is just kind of a cool. You just kind of see the scale of it and some. I like seeing some physical stuff here. It's not all green screen, but it's gonna be mostly green screen, which is fine. But it's just like a cool little thing. So they are definitely they're working on Black Adam. It's official. It's finally. This is what I've been talking about every time I brought up Black Adam, and they kept saying, "Oh, it's happened. Production date here," and they show a little clapperboard, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna believe it when I see some pictures from the set or something."
There
Because
we
like I
go.
can't between this and the Flash, I can't believe it till I see it, but now I see it. So this was cool in that regard. Then the last thing, which I also am kind of excited for now with the announcement of these two directors. Uh, a while back, Joss Whedon had been attached to um, be writing, and then I don't know if it was ever confirmed that he was actually going to direct the movie, but I think it was pretty much assumed that he would. But he was developing a Batgirl film, and now, well, I think it was in the last like year and a half. I don't know if this was like post the allegations that are going on in his like quote unquote personal, and because it is kind of like work related for what's going on with him. I don't know if it has anything to do with his current situation, but it was like a year or so ago that it was announced that he was no longer going to be developing that Batgirl project, and then no news came out about it at all, like whether they were going to continue doing it or not. And we've got our first confirmation that they are going through with it because they attached the directors from Bad Boys for Life, which was actually of of the plethora of movies who that have been coming out like 10 years too late. Bad Boys for Life was one of the better ones in my opinion. Like I think they did a good job. Like these two fellas did a good job making that movie, but like as far as that movie even goes, like it was pretty good. And, like, I'm excited to see, like, what they do with the Batgirl character because, like, they had some good, like I said, it wasn't all them. I mean, making movies is a big it's a big conglomerate, team effort. There's thousands of people that work on some movies, but I liked what they did with Bad Boys for Life. So I'm definitely curious and, kind of excited to see what they're gonna do now with, I mean, Bad Boys for Life was a pretty big property, IP wise, so they're kind of exposed to it, like making like a big budget movie. But I'm excited to see like I imagine this will be bigger budget than even Bad Boys for Life was because it's DC. So who knows though? This is we could say well this is Warner Brothers, so who knows? But now Warner Brothers like soon to be under new leadership as we talked about earlier things could be looking up. So I'm definitely excited to see this. An interesting choice. I'm more curious if this is going to be one of those movies that Walter Hamada had mentioned. They're going to be making some things for HBO Max and they're going to be making some things for theaters. Curious as to where this falls in line. Because I think this would be a perfect one to actually try the HBO Max route. And then if it does good, then Batgirl can have like a full release for the next one or something. But like who knows? I'm excited with these two guys attached. So Rob and or Rob. Rob, what do you think? Well, let me repeat myself here. No, Rik and Jon. Well, what do you guys think about all these news topics here? Is there anything that you want to like? We'll start with you, Rick. What do you want to talk about here? We'll
I,
kind of isolate something out for you.
not being the biggest DC fan, I don't have a whole lot to say, but I think the Injustice thing will be cool. You know, like I said, I enjoyed the cutscenes and the game was pretty nice as well. And what it sounds like, the story is pretty good too. Black Adam, finally seeing those pictures, that's promising. You know, like you said, and you believe it when you see it. Well, there it is, and there it went. But
Hey, I hadn't went yet.
yeah, it hadn't went yet. But
Ain't
no,
going nowhere.
I think it's cool. I mean, I'm not as into like the animated stuff necessarily. If I had to like put my finger on things, but uh, I think the Injustice thing will be cool, and that's animated technically. So
Yeah, that's good. For anybody, I'll give a quick overview for anybody who's not familiar with the DC, like the Injustice story. Like quickly, essentially, the Joker makes Clark, Superman, think that Lois Lane is Doomsday, so Clark ends up killing Lois Lane because he thinks he's attacking Doomsday. And this was all orchestrated by the Joker. And then come to find out, though, she was pregnant with his kid. So not only did he kill Lois, his wife and whatnot, he killed his unborn child. So then, like, Batman is with the Joker. He's detained or whatever. And oh yeah, by the way, too, the other thing he did was this is classic comic book stuff. Is if Lois Lane's heart stopped, a bomb was triggered in Metropolis. So not only did he kill Lois. He killed tons of people in Metropolis because
Of course he did.
it was, very comic book plan there. But that's what happened. So he kills Lois, kills Unborn Child, triggers a bomb to go off, kills a bunch of people. He kind of goes ape shit, and he goes to where Batman is holding the Joker, and he literally goes there and rips his heart out. Or does he just punch straight through his chest? I don't remember which one it is. He punches straight through his chest. Yeah, so then that sets off the whole story in that Superman has a rethink of how he should be doing things, and he says, we've been too easy on these people. Had we, had I been more of a dictator and just ended this and nipped it in the butt, this whole cycle of shit wouldn't, keep happening, Bruce, because how many times has Joker been out? Like, if we would have ended him years ago, this wouldn't happen. Then that leads to injustice. So there's a lot of people who end up siding with Clark, and they become more of a dictatorship rule and just kind of killing people and going about their day. But then there's a resistance led by like Batman, and it's really cool because kind of like in the Nightmare scene and the Snyder Cut stuff, Batman's squad consists of a lot of villains. Like Harley Quinn's like his go-to, and this is a lot of cool stuff like that. It's a really cool story, and it's not like as simple as that. There's some good stuff in it. There's some good stuff. So if they do this right, it would be great. And it's always why I was really interested in seeing more of the Nightmare stuff, because that's pretty much what Snyder was basing Nightmare off of in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So John, though, what's caught your eye with all these 8 DC news related things? Pick a couple.
The quickest and the one that I surprised me the most, I think, but couldn't be more happy for, is probably the least one that you guys would. It's the Rock
Krypto
playing
one, right?
Krypto. Yeah, I love Krypto. I'm a dog person, and the fact that Superman has a dog and this dog got superpowers, and like some of my favorite comic book stories. There was a comic called Adventure Comics back in the mid 2000s, written by Jeff Johns with art by Francis Manapul. And it was one of my favorite comics ever. And it was all about Superboy and Krypto going and having adventures. And so The Rock is one of my favorite actors. Krypto is one of my favorite comic book characters. And so the idea that they're going to put them together in a movie is just, I mean, I couldn't be happier about that. I think I'm really excited for that, and super, I guess pun intended, super happy that that's what they're going to do. I hope it's something a little more serious than this one that you've got on the screen here.
I've always been a bigger fan of Ace personally.
It was just,
I'm an Ace kind of guy.
Yeah, no, Ace is good. But I like the fact that Krypto actually has superpowers and like flies around, and they play catch on the moon. There's a great one of my favorite comic book images of all time comes from one of my favorite comic book stories, but All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison and
that's
Frank
so good.
Quietly. There's an image where Superman and Krypto are playing fetch in outer space, and there's an image of them sitting on the moon looking back at Earth. It's beautiful. It's if I could own one piece of artwork and throughout the history of comics, it might be that single shot. But anyway, that's my that's my pick for I was most surprised to see, especially because The Rock's already playing Black Adam, so the fact that they would double dip with him on another character is a little surprising, but it makes sense. I mean, it's animated, so that works out.
Speaking of which, since you mentioned Superboy, it made me think of in Young Justice, he has like Wolf.
Yes,
whatever his name.
Yep.
I think they called him Wolf in there, right? It was like
Wolf,
the alien
yep,
dog. Yeah,
yep.
he was really cool too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which while we're talking about Superboy, which we didn't throw into this, we also got the premiere date for the next season of Titans, which is going to be in August. So that's a little news out there for people that weren't aware. They released a quick Twitter trailer the other day. It's basically just the cast talking about the show, and there's no actual footage from the new season, but they at the end of it, they released the new date as being August of this year. Besides that, I'm excited for the Injustice animated movie. You kind of covered DC Animations issues over the past few years. I actually told you, and we may have talked about on stream. I actually stopped watching them. I was the person that was out there buying them. I was still buying the physical media every time they would release one, up until like 2 or 3 years ago when they did an adaptation of the Judas Contract, but they made it fit within the continuity of whatever they had done, whatever they were doing currently, and then they messed up Judas Contract, and then they also did one of Batman Hush, and those are two of my favorite comic book stories of all time. And they screwed around with the stories and messed them up. They tried to keep, I guess, the heart of the story or whatever, but they just didn't work the way they had them constructed, because they were trying to fit them in with this weird continuity that they were trying to establish. I'm not even sure why those movies have a continuity to begin with. You're adapting classic comic books tales. Just do straight adaptations. That's what people want for those. So anyway, there was that part of it. So I'm hoping, like you said, with Injustice, that and the Long Halloween movies, that they have gotten away from this idea that they have to establish some sort of continuity, and these movies have to be, or these stories have to be changed to fit that continuity. The Black Adam stuff looks cool. Looks pretty epic. I like, the tone of it is, from the pictures at least, is very, the first image we got of Batflick was very very dark, and it was him by the Batmobile, right? And so that kind of set the tone for that movie. This, in the same way, kind of sets a similar tone, but it feels like maybe more epic, because that was just the Batmobile in like a warehouse. This you actually got some set footage from that looks like, there's some major destruction going on, which you would expect with someone of Black Adam's power level. So that's exciting. To be honest, I've lost track of what I've covered and what all was on the list, because there were so many. But yeah,
You
definitely
pretty
a
much
lot
hit
of
them
good
all
stuff.
there.
Hopefully coming. Definitely a lot of good stuff coming from DC that I'm excited for. Hopefully
Oh, the only thing you didn't talk about was the actual
Oh,
animated series
Batgirl
stuff. Well, and Batgirl, but you didn't talk about
and
Batman the
Batgirl,
animated
yeah,
series, the Superman animated series. But real quick too, because you brought it up with the animation thing and everything. Like, it looks like I think I mentioned this when we were talking about it before, but the animation style and the character models for the Long Halloween, which is one of the newer ones coming out, is completely different than like their existing continuity for like the DC stuff. Like
yes,
like the animation style is different. They have the different voice actors. Like my boy Jensen Ackles is actually playing Bruce Wayne Batman, because he did play Red Hood and Under the Red Hood, but now he's actually playing the voice for Batman on it. So and that's what makes me think that hopefully with Injustice they'll do the same, because it seems like they're doing like a true adaptation for Long Halloween, as opposed to when you look at this, for instance. This, I pulled up the comparative here. Oh, we gotta look at Liberty Mutual first. Oh, God damn, why the
Freaking
ad have,
emu.
I didn't get an ad when I brought up the other one, but as you can see here, this is the Hush film, from the Hush film, and they use the character model and everything of the Superman from like Justice League War, keeps the
yeah,
same animation style and everything along those lines. So like we both kind of said, like, I hope they just keep on the route of doing just adapt to what's already there. Don't integrate it.
yep,
Which with Injustice, I could actually see that one working. Like if you did want to integrate it and just make it like, because it's gonna inevitably be an Elseworlds kind of thing. Like, so they could use the character models and the voice actors, but you have to tell the story. You know what I mean? So like, I guess it really wouldn't matter if they did this one particular thing for Injustice. It wouldn't matter. Like, in all honesty, as long as they do it right. But I'd still rather them not, because Kevin Conroy did the voice for Batman in those games, so I'd rather them just bring Kevin Conroy back to do that. And they also had what's his name, Daly, what's his name, Chris Daly, whoever does Superman's voice, forget his name. He was doing Superman's voice in that too, so I'd rather them both
is
come
it
back.
Tim?
Tim Daly, yeah, Tim Daly, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nevertheless, go on though, John. Which one did you want to talk about?
So, well, since we're on animation, I'll touch on the other two animations just real quick. I think the Superman show looks interesting. I'm hoping that it's good. Um, I'm also kind of, as a parent now, I'm hoping it's something I can watch my with my son. Like I wouldn't mind if it skews towards the younger kid demographic because um that's the as much as I like Batman the animated series and it works for kids, I think it works for kids once you get, 6, 7, 8 years old. We don't have a lot that's for the really young kids as far as superhero shows right now. I mean, you've got stuff like Paw Patrol, and Marvel has a like superhero squad show that's actually pretty good, that I can watch with the younger ones. But I'm hoping maybe the Superman show skews a little bit
Dude,
younger on
now
the
that you
younger side for
mentioned
that.
that, I actually thought the very same thing. When these things got announced, I thought to myself, because one of them says, like, I think it was in the Batman article, one of the people attached to it, I think it may have been Bruce Timm, said that, they're excited to bring it back. It made me realize that, yeah, all the stuff that I watched as a kid isn't even a thing anymore. Like, there's nothing out
Yeah,
there, like, what's out there to get new viewers, like,
yeah,
introduced to these characters? There's nothing there.
sure. Justice
Everything's
League is gone. Like
yeah,
they just,
all of
yeah,
it.
yeah. Once
So,
that animated series went away, they've dabbled in it. They've had a couple series over the years, but they haven't had anything that really established itself. And they definitely haven't had anything to get like my kid. I don't. There's nothing. I had Super Friends when I was growing up. Like I could turn that on and like, he could watch. And I was actually planning on one day, hopefully introducing him to Super Friends. And I had the stupid DC Universe subscription, which had all that. And now they've merged with HBO Max. And for some reason, they didn't bring the Super Friends show over, which I don't understand. Anyway, they didn't.
very weird.
They didn't bring over a lot of their stuff. Anyway, so yeah, the Superman show. Hopefully it skews a little bit younger. I wouldn't mind that. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and hopefully it's just good. Um, and then the Batman show. Hopefully, I mean my reading or my interpretation of the quotes and what they said was that it's going to be a new show. They've got they've got Bruce Timm involved with it. Um, but it's also J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves. I believe.
He said this new world in the end of the
Yeah,
quote,
see,
so
he said bring this character back. I think he just was referencing bringing the character of Batman back to animation.
right.
I think we'll definitely get, tonally, I think Bruce Timm will probably bring. But there was a lot of Alan Burnett, Paul Dini, some of those guys from the original um, Batman at BTAS show. I don't know if they'll be brought back in without their involvement. I would be surprised to see them just restart BTAS back up, but hopefully this will, still I have a feeling it'll be good. I'm wondering if it is an anthology show, if this won't be part of Matt Reeves' world building for the new Batman movie.
That's what I was
If there
curious
won't be
too.
episodes, yeah, if there
Yeah.
won't be episodes that tie into that. Some people may remember this, but they did a anime
Gotham Knights.
multi Gotham Knights thing that tied in with the Dark Knight movies back in the day, which is actually pretty good. But they haven't really done anything like that. I'm curious if this is going to be that sort of thing. J.J. Abrams' involvement was kind of surprising for me, unless it's going to tie into, unless this series is going to be like all over the place and tie into, it's going to have like some of its own continuity with the Tim stuff, some of the Batman movie, Matt Reeves Batman movie stuff, and then maybe J.J. Abrams Justice League Dark stuff. Maybe it's a way to introduce some of the Justice League Dark components. I
I
don't
hope
know.
that's still happening, yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think of what all they could do with this show.
I
But
think,
hopefully it's good.
not to interrupt, I think
No,
the
no.
J.J. Abrams involvement has more to do with, like, J.J. and Matt Reeves have known each other since Cloverfield. And,
Okay.
because JJ produced the movie and then, like, it came I was like, I don't even know if it was Bad Robot yet, but he was behind Cloverfield, but it was, Matt Reeves's movie. Like, he made the movie and
Well, and
everything. And then JJ
yeah.
signed this big exclusive deal with WB. So I think, and now that Matt Reeves is doing Batman, it may have just been like a circumstantial thing to where it's like, well, why don't you guys, like, it feels like lately the JJ's been attached to, like, he was attached to Justice League Dark, now he's attached to a Superman thing, and now he's attached to this Batman thing. So it's like part of it seems like they're just trying to get their money's worth out of JJ. And like,
Mhm.
our DC shit's dead. Why don't you help that? You know, like, which isn't a bad thing, but like, I'm curious to see what him and Reeves' involvement like really will be. Like you said, is it going to tie into the Batman in any way? Like, what is it? And is Justice League Dark still happening? Because like, I really would like to see that happen. Like that, I like
Yeah.
that stuff. You know, so that's like
Yeah.
Doctor Fate, Zatanna, and you know, Constantine shit, and I like that stuff.
Yep.
So, but go
Yeah.
on, sir.
Well, and in this quote in this article here, JJ isn't quoted, so we know how they like to throw around executive producer titles onto things, and the people their involvement is kind of questionable as to how much it actually is. So
Very
we'll see
nebulous.
with that. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition, how much he actually does involved with this project. And then finally, Batgirl. I'm fairly certain, I'm like 99% sure that Joss Whedon was removed from the Batgirl movie within months of 2017's Justice League. I think that the failure of that movie, like they quietly dropped him from that project, or he quietly left that project right soon after Justice League came out and all the bad publicity of how poorly the movie did. So there was that part of it. But I'm excited. I actually hope this isn't an HBO Max release. Um, unless they're gonna do like box office quality films on HBO Max. If they do that, then great. But I don't want them to shortchange Batgirl just for the sake of getting it onto HBO Max. So like if they were going to do a Batgirl TV show, that's fine. If you want to do a series and throw it on HBO Max, great. If you want to do like I don't know. I just think Batgirl is one of my favorite characters. I mean, obviously the Batman family, all of them I really like. I think she has a lot of potential. Um, I they've had success with Wonder Woman. Disney's got Captain Marvel, and then they've got Black Widow coming out soon. DC could really expand its female superheroes in a big way by starting to introduce some of these people, some of these other characters, and I think getting Batgirl to the screen is kind of a natural one. I think a lot of people enjoy the Batman movies, obviously, and just just using a character that's Batman-esque. Um, would draw people in. So I hope that they go that route with it, and don't limit it to just a HBO Max release. But we'll see.
Yeah, I hear you. The one thing I would kind of hope they do with the HBO Max stuff, like, because I could see it both ways. I could see Batgirl being kind of a derivative character, and they're kind of unsure of its box office success, especially with the history of DC's box office right now. Like, I could see them not wanting to take like a risk on, like even like Blue Beetle. I could see them actually doing an HBO Max with, even though I'd much rather have that go straight to theaters, like especially Blue Beetle, because I
Yeah,
think Blue Beetle has a ton of potential, but. I would honestly rather see them do, like, the reverse and say, "Let's make this Batgirl movie," and instead of killing it when it's not successful, if it doesn't hit the box office you want it to, do another movie, but put it on HBO Max and try to continue grow the fan base more, or make it a series on HBO Max. Because like, if you know your
yeah,
movie's good, then keep it going. Like Shazam, for instance. Shazam made, like, 400 million, like, it was very low grossing, but they know it's good, so they're making another one. Like, and if they
yeah,
just do the same thing with their lesser known characters, like, just give it time to grow, man. Especially
Right.
now with, like, The Rock coming in as Black Adam, it's only gonna make the interest for Shazam go up even higher.
Well,
So,
yeah.
like,
And it wouldn't happen if it wasn't The Rock coming in to do that, I don't feel like. I mean,
well,
he's
oh
since
has a
yeah,
huge part of that.
yeah, exactly, and, like, since Shazam was actually good, like, they're putting the money behind it to make another one.
Yeah, it
Because
just
like,
seems like Black Adam's gonna be really dark, and Shazam was very, like, lighthearted and, like, kinda funny, and
well, that's what makes it so interesting.
it's like
They're
you're
they're
gonna have this
2 opposite
super
sides of the
dark,
coin.
like, heavy character up against, like, a dude who's basically a kid.
I'm really
yeah,
curious what they're gonna do with Black Adam, because like,
I think it's gonna be dark as hell.
I don't know if they're gonna go the whole villain route with him, or if they're gonna go the more Venom route and
That's
make
what I
him
was
an
gonna say, they're gonna
anti-hero.
probably go the Venom route, where he's, like, an anti-hero, like,
Yeah.
he's done some bad things, but, like,
Well,
He's
'cause
doing it for a reason.
The Rock has said that he is like a more anti-hero kind of thing. So I'm assuming
In
they're
that
gonna
caption
go
they
there.
showed of him standing there, that's what it sounded like, just like he's a champion of the people. And
Yeah. But I don't know, I'm curious because I mean, like with that movie in particular, like obviously, like we found out at Fandom, the Justice Society is a part of it. So like he could be the villain in that, but it could be a very like
he could be a
gray
hero in one movie.
Thanos area kind of thing,
He could
right?
be like a villain in one movie, but like in his own standalone movie, he comes out as like the hero.
Well, that's the thing. He could be the villain.
Is he gonna like fight like White Adam and Blue Adam?
No, he's fighting the Justice Society.
I know, I'm just joking.
Or he's working with them. We don't really know.
It's gonna
Right.
be interesting. I think this movie could actually, if it's done well and done, maybe right is overstepping, but if it's done well, Black Adam, especially the part there about champion of the poor and the beaten down, Black Adam in the comics at least has challenged, I guess, the establishment of superheroes, and the superheroes, the classic superheroes are they stand on the side of right and wrong, and the side of the law, and but what about those times when the law is wrong? What about those times when the international community looks the other way on atrocities that happen because of things that are going on? And Black Adam could be the guy to come in and challenge, the idea of superheroes always do what's right and always follow the law. I know Batman is that way to a certain extent, but Batman's more of a street level kind of urban character. When you're talking about, Superman, where, he's more, he doesn't,
He's on like a galactic scale.
he's not going to fly into a foreign country and dismantle a established government, even if it's oppressing its people, because that would upset the balance of the world, and upset in the sovereignty of that nation. Whereas Black Adam, if he feels like he needs to, would make that call. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play this out, if that's kind of what the angle that they're going for. And it could be a really interesting and really profound story in a way if they go that route.
Yeah, like the Punisher with superpowers.
Right. That's like
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
I would look at it. Because
Yeah.
Punisher's pretty dark. Like,
But
Yeah,
the
the
Punisher
Punisher.
going after, even going after like police forces and stuff too, that are
Yeah.
not just criminals, not just bad, not just like Black Adam's not just going after terrorists and gangs. He'll go after like actual established governments and be
Yeah.
like, you're not treating your people right.
one little
Exactly.
thing I wanted to add in, just because I saw this and I thought it was very true and funny. You just mentioned like Punisher going up against like police forces and stuff like that. It's funny to me that so many different law enforcement officers nowadays have actually adopted the Punisher logo as like, just like Blue Lives Matter, Punisher skull kind of thing. And it's just like, do you know who the Punisher is? Like,
Oh, I know.
it's-
do
Yeah.
you know what it's about?
Marvel actually, at one point, Marvel actually was trying to
There's a guy at
pull
my
some of
gym.
those things from those, but yeah, it's become synonymous with law enforcement in a lot
But
of
there's a guy at
areas.
my gym that wears like a Blue Lives Matter shirt, and it's got like American
Yeah.
flags on the sleeves and it's got a Punisher skull. And I'm just like, you don't understand this, do you? You just think it looks cool. Like,
Yeah, exactly. They think it's the kind of thing where
It's
it's
like,
like,
I'm
well,
the
it's just a
Punisher.
cool skull. It's like,
yeah. It's-
it's like a swastika, man. Like, like you might like how it looks, but there's a meaning. There's a meaning behind.
yeah,
swastika.
it's not just a picture. It's
Yeah, it's like it's a logo that stands for something.
and it sure as hell doesn't stand for police officers.
No, it's not. It's not a very for the people kind of logo. It's the
No.
opposite of for the people.
It's
It's
just
the opposite of public service. When
that's a
you're using
random thing for me
the
to
Punisher.
yeah, like, and that's a random thing for me to bring up, but I just thought it was funny with what John mentioned.
No, that's true though. But yeah, that covers. I think that pretty much covers the DC stuff. Yeah, you guys got
Yeah.
anything else you want to add? All right, well, guys.
Excited.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Hey.
excited for it. I think there's a lot of good stuff in the works. A lot of good stuff in the works. I'm excited for all there's tons of animated stuff too, and I think the biggest takeaway from the animated stuff too is the point that I kind of threw in at the end there, where it's like, what's even out there for the kids, man? Like when we were growing up, like John said, we had like going as far back as like Super Friends and like all this stuff, the Legion of Doom. You remember like that show back in the day, like
Oh yeah.
like we had that, then it evolved, and then we had, like, Batman the Animated Series and, like, all these things, and there were, like, crossovers with Scooby-Doo, for Christ's sake, like, you couldn't get away from this stuff back in the day.
The Hall of Justice, funny enough, was actually modeled after Union Terminal in Cincinnati, which is like
Yeah. Right, exactly.
right.
Which
So
is
you go downtown, we've got the Hall
yeah,
of
exactly,
Justice,
which is cool. It's cool.
except it's a museum.
Right. But nevertheless, where's the content for the new people? Like, because Marvel is, like, able to capture the audience with their live action stuff, but DC hasn't. Like, so, like, bringing back something that has, like, really, like, tried and true for them, like, their animated stuff may not be as, like, on par with a lot of, like, other, like, animation studios. Like, it's not like a Pixar kind of thing, but consistently for the last 30 years, their animated division has always pumped out content that their core fan base has always enjoyed. They hit their heights during the years of Batman the Animated Series and Superman and Justice League and all that, and like Batman Beyond. That, like, 5-10 year window was like the glory days for DC animated stuff, but like they continue to pump out content. So why that stuff kind of disappeared, your regular, quote unquote kid friendly animated stuff would be perfect for them to bring back and actually get more people into it, target a different demographic, because like I said, Marvel has captured like every demographic with their stuff. So like, maybe targeting a different demographic to get people on board with things and have them grow up with something, you create more people like us. These kind of fools, which might not be a good thing in the end, but who knows? Hopefully it works. I'm excited for everything. So let us know what you thought about all this down in the comment section below.